Hey folks, I am just leaving the office. It is Wednesday evening. Beep, beep, beep. It's a pretty tight parking spot here because someone decided I don't need any space, I guess. Pretty cool. Let's get out of here. This parking lot's nuts. All the spaces are compact, every single one of them. Okay, we're going to ExperiencedDevs for a topic. I don't really know. I'm going to navigate this one, but the topic was like, are all software engineering teams as dysfunctional as, the one that this person's talking about? And they say, like, are there actually high-performing, like, software engineering teams? And I did a brief, this was mostly about me being curious and, scrolling through the comments and stuff. And a lot of people are like, nah, man, every place is, totally screwed up and, this is just the way it is. So, I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe that is what I was expecting. I wanted to talk a little bit about, some things that come up in the thread. I'll talk about what I feel like was high-performance teams that I worked on. The bias is going to be I was managing those teams. But I got to move my bag off the seat because it thinks that there's a human that's not buckled up. But I want to talk about what I think made those teams effective and why I try to lead teams the way that I do. And obvious, disclaimer is I realize that as I go to talk through this, I'm going to be making it sound like, oh, this is the only way to do it. My way is the best way. It's not what I'm trying to say. It's just that based on my experience when I thought things were going really well, I take the things that I was doing during those times and try to apply them in my leadership. Not saying I have it all figured out. I don't want to come across that way. It's not the case. So before I dive more into this topic, a friendly reminder, this channel is all about answering questions that are submitted. So if you have questions about software engineering, career development, submit them below. Happy to answer. If you aren't comfortable leaving a public question, you can message DevLeader on social media. It's also my main YouTube channel where I have C# tutorials. I have free resume reviews. If you go check out the channel, you can see how to submit your resume. There's a podcast there as well, and live streams every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific. So would love to see you there. And yeah, you can message Nick Cosentino on LinkedIn. That's my name. And yeah, happy to keep you anonymous if you want to message. So for this topic, I think that it is unfortunately very common that, and I would argue probably at bigger companies too, more common, where we have pretty dysfunctional teams. Like I said, I don't know exactly how I want to navigate this one. Something that I thought was very interesting that was pointed out was that a lot of people, I say a lot, I mean, for the comments that I was scrolling through, there were several people that were talking about basically leadership or management being sort of the root cause for this kind of thing, right? People were saying, hey, I've worked with people that, the engineers that I was working with, the team seemed like they were competent, effective engineers, but even in situations where they had that happen, once there was a person in management or leadership that came in, they've watched it all fall apart. So across a few of these comments, one of the themes being if you put people in charge being shitty, then it all erodes. It all falls apart. You have, dysfunctional teams. You have all these bad things happening. And you probably heard this saying, right? People don't leave. What do they say? I'm going to butcher it, even though it's a popular saying. It's people don't leave jobs. They leave their managers, right? And so as an engineering manager, I actually, I subscribe to this idea. I have lived through periods where people were in sort of a management or leadership position and dramatically affected everything below them in negative ways. And my goal, I don't like making videos where I'm bashing people or things like that, so that's not my intention, but I just want to be able to kind of talk about this kind of stuff openly, right? Like, I've been in situations where they bring in someone who oversees the organization, and the side effect of that, and not maliciously, right? It's not like, oh, like, yes, now I have full control over the organization, I can screw everything up just like I planned. Like, certainly not like that, but either through, like, lack of effective leadership, lack of understanding of the domain, lack of, like, whatever it happens to be. It could be any number of things. That the side effect of that is, like, things start to fall apart below them. So one example that comes to mind is, like, how do I talk about this without, like, I don't want to, like, shit on anyone. I had I'll talk about it very vaguely. At some point in my career, I had some leadership changes, and those leadership changes resulted in sort of this style of leadership where you come into a place and you go, oh, like, it must be broken. I'll be the fixer. And sounds good, doesn't it? They start trying to make all sorts of changes when the reality is, like, nothing was actually broken, and they start causing a very significant impact in not a good way. So in this situation, this person was basically like, okay, well, we're going to hire in these other roles because, like, company's scaling, so, like, we're going to bring in, we brought in architect roles, we brought in, like, documentation writing, there were all these things that they tried to go change, like, boom, 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 to essentially, like, to help, but they were kind of, like, unfortunately, they were given the reins to go do it, and I wish I was making this up. Someone, after this person had departed, someone had dug up, like, we were following Agile, our own version of it, trying to be nimble as much as we could as a startup. I'm giving away too much already. Someone had dug up, like, a velocity chart. Okay? And obviously, I'm not saying these things are totally accurate. That's not my intention. But, like, we had on our chart, the velocity literally went down to 0 at some point on this chart. Like, the impact that this person was having, not maliciously, right? Just, like, the effect was that at some point our velocity chart trended to 0. It was extremely negatively impactful. Now, are they the only problem? Like, is everything are they to blame for everything? No, but, like, under their leadership, this is what happened. And interestingly enough, you change that part, you put better leadership in place. Our velocity graph recovered from 0. I mean, at 0, the bar wasn't set very high, but, like, the point is that you can have very dramatic impacts through reorgs, through leadership changes, through managers changing. It doesn't even, realistically, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be a manager or leadership. If you have, like, formally, if you have someone in a position on a team that people are looking up to, like, let me know if you've worked with people that are the stereotypical, like, intelligent asshole, right? If you're not familiar with this persona, this is the person on a team where they are intelligent, right? They know what's going on. They might be very proficient in the tech stack, the programming language, the domain. They are a very intelligent person, but, like, basically their opinion's the only opinion. Like, they'll steamroll conversations. They don't care about you. They don't care about the work you're doing. Basically, they will have full control over things. And they're called the intelligent asshole as a persona because they are very smart and they're shit to work with. these types of individuals are toxic for a team. They will completely destroy the effectiveness of a team because they become the bottleneck for everyone. And these types of individuals at a team level can have the exact same type of impact where basically everything grinds to a halt. So, point being that I think when you have people in a position of influence, let me generalize it to that based on how much influence they have and sort of how dysfunctional they are, they can spread that negative influence, that impact, to what they can reach. And again, it's not meant to be malicious. As I talk through this, I don't mean for it to sound that way where it's like, that persona I'm describing, or, I think all managers are bad, or, I'm just jaded from having crappy leaders at some point. No, I just mean like, I'm not trying to say that they mean ill. It's just that through incompetence or some other thing, their personality, their focus, their leadership, they have a really negative impact. So, to the point of this post, like, what people were describing was like, hey, in tech, like some big tech companies, and maybe not just like purely big tech, I just mean larger tech companies, where you have multiple levels of management and leadership. Someone was saying like, sometimes it seems like people are just reorging to make it seem like they're important. Like, if we don't reorg at some frequency, like, what else are we doing, right? Like, we don't actually add value. We have to keep busy by reorging. Now, I've not been in a company at that level of leadership where I have a perspective on that. I would like to think that's not true, especially as like a generalization. That sounds like pretty terrible. Because I don't know, I don't like having generalizations like that where the majority of people are just like crap. I don't like that. Not my philosophy. Do I think that might exist? Sure. I don't want to rule that out. I don't want to believe that it's the majority of people that are like, in leadership positions, that are thinking, I don't actually add value, so I might as well periodically reorg so I can be kept busy and look important. Now, this type of thing is super disruptive, for sure. So, whether, like, I don't know, I've talked about this in other videos, if you've had a manager change, like, that can be insanely disruptive to individuals. It might not be disruptive to a larger organization when a manager changes, depending on how much or how many people like sort of report up to them. It might not be that impactful for a single manager, but their direct reports, sure, that's going to be shit. Even if you have a good manager coming in, like, it's disruptive. It just is. And I say that as an engineering manager who has been brought in to manage teams. I understand that that's disruptive. So I think that when we have a lot of these types of things going on in companies, frequent manager changes, you have reorgs, you have, I don't know, like all this kind of stuff going on, I can absolutely understand why people would say, from my experience, when you have a bunch of this kind of stuff happening on a, I don't know, I want to say semi-regular cadence, that could be like from a couple of times a year to, once every couple of years. To me, that can be pretty disruptive. Now, maybe not for everyone, maybe not in every situation, but I think that can lead to some challenges for sure. So, one of the things I wanted to touch on was like as people that are responsible for leading teams, and I don't just want to say like, I don't just want to include engineering managers, right? Yes, that's my role, but I want to be able to include like people in like tech lead and team lead positions, even senior engineers, right? Like being in a position where you have influence, let's say, I think one of the most important things that we can do is like remaining connected with people. And I realize it sounds kind of like weird and corny and cheesy and like, what does that even mean? But when I reflect on like when I feel most effective as someone leading teams, the reason I feel effective is not because I'm looking at numbers on a dashboard being like, yes, numbers go up on team, therefore Nick effective. It's more like I feel very connected to what people are doing and like their challenges and what they're focused on, all sorts of things. One sec, I gotta switch lanes. Oh, it feels so good to be out of that lane. I feel the most effective as an engineering manager when I just have an understanding of what's going on with people as individuals, right? If people are frustrated by shit, if they're really enjoying the work they're doing, like I need to be super connected with the people on my team because that's one of the best ways that I can enable them to do their best work. If there's people that are frustrated with things and it's in my control, then great. Like, let me know, I want to observe it. I want to make sure I understand from people. I want to try driving change in a way that enables them. If it's outside of my control, like, I need to make sure that I understand the problems they're facing so that I can bubble it up, so that I can get it to the person or group that can help drive change there. But if I'm not connected really well with people, I'm not in tune with them, I'm not doing one-on-ones frequently, don't have good trust, all these things, shit falls apart. Now, I'm kind of speaking from my own experience, right? Where I'm like, hey, this is how I see it as an engineering manager. But let me tell you that I can also speak about it from, being the person with the engineering manager that is not doing those things. Now, again, I'm not trying to draw attention to any specific manager, leader, any point in my career, just to generalize it. I have had managers that stop doing one-on-ones. And I don't just mean with me, I mean with their reports. And things start to go south. And I'm not saying that because like the one-on-one is the most important part that glues everything together. It's not the implementation. I mean that they start getting disconnected from the team. And that way they're not paying attention to things that the team needs. They're not there to support the team. And I would say the same, to kind of loop in tech leads and team leads. If you're not in tune with the people that you're working with, that you're trying to lead, like, how do you expect to lead them effectively? Because if it's like, oh, I just tell them what to do, like, I hate to break it to you, that's just telling people what to do. It's not actually leading them in any capacity, right? So if you're trying to lead groups of people, you need people to follow you. Telling people what to do does not mean that they follow you. Right? To be able to lead people means that they trust you, that they are believing in the things that you're saying, they respect you for it. And like one of the side effects of that is that when you need people to do things and you ask them to do them, they're happy to do them. Or they understand. They might not necessarily be happy, but they understand. So I think, like, moving on to the next thing, like, I think one of my strategies for leading, especially like coming into a team, because this is, if we're talking about churn being one of the things that can cause a lot of dysfunction, right? Leadership, management, whatever it happens to be, churning, causing dysfunction. I think that one of the things that I try to focus on is when I join a team, my goal is to observe. It's two parts. One is to get to know every individual on the team. I gotta change lanes here. And the next is to observe what's going on. Now, in my career, I've never been brought into a team where the person that hired me said, this team is falling apart, like, you're here, you better go change it all. No one's ever said that to me. Right? It's always been the exact opposite. Hi, the team's awesome, we're scaling the team. Great, okay. I'm going to get to know and understand everyone, right? I need to start building trust and respect from day one. It's going to take time, got to start. And that means getting to actually know people. Part one. Part two is, I'm not changing shit. If someone brings me into a team and they say the team is great, why should I think that I'm coming into this brand new, never working with the team, and I'm going to start making changes? Like, absolutely not. So I go into things like being hands-on with getting to know people, hands-off with process and changes and stuff like that. Because until I've observed, I'm not in any spot to start making recommendations. It's not for me. And I say this because I have been burned. Like I already gave you the example earlier. I have been burned by this. I have been on the other end of this where it was so shitty to have someone come in and start trying to change everything. And again, not maliciously, but create all of these problems, create all of these inefficiencies. And if they would have just stopped when they joined, if they spent more time observing and then trying to work with people to understand where the challenges were, I think that a lot of those issues would have been avoided. So far with my rambling rant, I think the one thing I just want to reemphasize is that, like, I think as people that are in charge of leading others, whether that's as a team lead, a manager, someone in a leadership position, I think one of the most important things that you can do is stay in touch with the individuals. Because I think once you lose that, you're flying blind. And I generally don't think it's going to turn out very well. You're going to have people that resist the things you're proposing. They're going to be frustrated by it because you're not actually listening to the things that they need support on. They don't feel seen, they don't feel heard. You're just kind of telling people to do things. So, to kind of, again, shift gears, like when I think about one of the teams that I think about being, like, I don't know, the most effective team that I've worked on, in this particular case, I was working, as both a manager for the team and I was writing code with the team as well. I don't think the fact that I was writing code is the thing that made the difference. I think that writing code with the team enabled me to really understand, like, the challenges that we were working through. But I think what worked so well is that, meeting regularly with people to understand, like, what's getting them engaged, what's getting them, upset. Where's the friction? What are the things they want to grow and do? Like, I think spending time doing that is very underrated. So doing that a lot, making sure that people had autonomy. I can't stress that one enough. one of the examples in the Reddit thread was about dysfunctional teams was like micromanaging. Yeah, when you have people that lead teams, and this is gonna sound like I don't want to make it sound condescending or putting certain people on pedestals kind of thing, but if you're an individual contributor, okay, and you don't have an interest in leading teams, and it's never been something that's top of mind for you, how you approach trying to lead groups of people probably follows some patterns. And that is, and I'm saying this like not you got to be careful on the internet. I'm not trying to say everyone is like this. I'm just I have to generalize a little bit. A common pattern I see like this is that you end up sort of telling people what to do, right? Like if you're an individual contributor and your first kind of time being able to help organize other people, lead them through something, if you're not experienced at doing it, a very common thing is you start telling people what and how. I've made videos on this before. It's just a common thing to do. And the reason is because you're not used to, a couple reasons. You're not used to driving or gauging your impact as the sum of other people's work. It's part one. You need to be involved. Number two is like you haven't built up trust with these other people, and you're responsible for it now. So it feels more sensible that you're telling people like, hey, I'm responsible for this. Here's how it's got to get done. Or people, it might not even be your mindset. It's more like people are coming to you and saying like, hey, I need direction. I need help with this. And you go, oh, I'll just tell you how to go do it. Go do this. Right? Like these types of things over time, if they're not like thought through or built upon, I strongly believe lead to micromanagement. You get used to telling people what and how to do it. When you have people that lead teams where they have the mindset of an individual contributor that has not grown out of that, so I said I don't mean for it to sound condescending. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with individual contributors. Please don't interpret it that way. I'm just saying that if you've not built up the effectiveness and the practice for trying to lead other people, a lot of the time this leads to micromanagement. And it's like I'm not blaming people for that. Like if that's how you've known to do it, right? Like then that's going to be the thing that you repeat. So autonomy is like ridiculously important because you need to be able to give autonomy to team members, right? If you're a team lead, like you might need to do a little bit more guidance for some of the more junior people. Maybe you do have to kind of tell them what to do because they need that much more guidance. But for the people that are more senior, like, and when I say more senior, I just mean more senior than like someone who's just starting in general, you want to make sure they have autonomy. Engagement falls off when your autonomy's gone. Right? If people don't feel included in decision making, if they don't have ownership over things, engagement will drop off. You will get shit results. You'll have dysfunctional teams. Burnout will be higher. Why am I here doing this? Why am I doing it? Someone else already knows what to go do. You go do it. Like, why am I the one? I don't care. It feels like it's for someone else. And that someone else is not the customer. Like, that's the shitty part, right? When we're doing work like this, when we're building things, we're building software, we're solving customer issues, we're building platforms to help our partners. Like, it's awesome to be solving problems for our users. What doesn't feel so great is solving problems that someone just told you to go solve and you feel like you're doing it just because they told you. And even worse, they just told you it has to get done, and here's how to do it. What's your involvement? You press the keys on the keyboard? It feels like shit. So I think you got to be connected with your team, right? I said earlier, it can't be just can't say it enough. Like, it's so critical. You have to keep connected. You need to be able to build the trust with the people that you're working with so that you can give them autonomy, give them that safe place to fail. I think that, reorgs and stuff like that can be done for good reasons, right? Like, if there's growth in areas and like realigning makes more sense from, leadership, product areas, whatever it happens to be. I'm not saying that there's no reason to do whatever. I'm just saying that these can have like rippling consequences that they're not obvious if you're not working closely with people. Right? So I'll give you another example, and this isn't me talking shit, it's just like sort of reality. I used to work on the deployment team for Microsoft 365, so I switched teams last year. And we had done a reorg, and the impact of let me talk about the impact of the reorg. And again, this isn't me not talking ill of anyone. It's nothing to do with individuals. The impact of the reorg that we had, one of the consequences of that was that how engineering managers were interacting with product roadmaps for the engineering teams changed completely. Except the way that this was done was not actually communicated clearly, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying that's any one person's fault. I wouldn't even know. I can't point a finger because I don't even know who to point it at. Like, I'm not saying it's someone's fault. I'm just saying this is the side effect. Reorg happened. There's different product management groups brought in. We have different engineering leadership. Everything changed around us. So everyone is just trying to do what they're familiar with. And the side effect of that was that we had this change. And in my opinion, it made being an engineering manager extremely difficult, because seemingly out of nowhere, I felt like I didn't really have any influence over the teams that I was managing. Because all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't know what work is supposed to be a priority, because there's a different group of people with the best intentions that just have different priorities, and we're currently not aligned. So again, no individual's fault, nothing like that. Something like a reorg just was extremely disruptive. Okay, so like, is this a particular leader's fault? I don't think so. Could a different leader have done a better job? Maybe. So in this case, I'm not even talking about specific people. I'm just saying the nature of doing the reorg. If this is something that happens at companies at some interval, whether it's fixed or not, if it's happening, it's going to cause disruptions, or has the likelihood to cause disruptions. So being able to have, I think, like, highly functional teams, you need some amount of consistency, right? Like, if you're going to put a team together, the likelihood of a bunch of, complete strangers working together super effectively right away, probably low. I don't see that being a very effective thing off the bat. But I think if everyone involved in that team is understanding how other individuals work, you have a leader in place that is understanding the individual's like I was saying earlier, that you start to build trust in the team very fast, or faster than you would if you were like, I'm just going to basically only focus on the work that's like what's the coding task in front of me, right? Or the manager being like, I'm just going to delegate work. I don't care about the individuals. When you start having more interactions and understanding the people that you're working with, I think you build trust faster. I think you build respect faster. And then you can start having difficult conversations in the team when there's friction, right? Like, hey, I don't agree with this design pattern. I don't agree with how we do code reviews. I think our build system sucks and we should try to do something better. We don't even have a build system. We don't even have unit tests. We should start writing those things. I like tabs. You like spaces. Like, you can start having conversations about this stuff and addressing it and improving and working together versus being like, I don't know, man. I don't really know Joe, but he's on the team. He seems to suck. Like, I don't really like him. I don't really talk to Joe, though. I just, kind of in the way when I'm trying to do stuff. But, like, I'm not going to talk to him. And then you have, leaders that aren't in tune with that, like, kind of just ignoring what's happening on the team. Like, I mean, some of this stuff probably sounds obvious. I just don't know why people don't invest time into it. I say this a lot. Maybe not as often as I should on this channel. Definitely, like, in my social media posts and stuff. Software engineering, you're working with people, man. Like, if you're not thinking about how to be more effective with the people that you're working with, it's going to fall apart. It's not going to be effective. So, especially for people that are in leadership positions of any kind, people first. If you put people first and you empower them and they're engaged and they know why they're supposed to be doing things, they know what the motivation is, they have the autonomy, right? You have smart people. Give them autonomy. Oh, that's a good lane change with no signal. I almost went there too. Give them autonomy, right? Like, they're going to do good shit. The more that you start micromanaging them, taking away their autonomy, not explaining why, being disconnected with them, yeah, it's going to fall apart. I think to some of the comments, I fully agree that a lot, most sort of dysfunction that comes up with teams is because you got shit managers in place. You got crappy leaders. But I've absolutely had the pleasure of working with people where I felt like our team, like, the mindset, like, there's nothing our team can't solve. Right? Being so motivated by difficult challenges, because it's like every time we solve something that seemed like there was no possible solution, being like, we did it, man. Like, what's the next thing? Like, try and prove us wrong that we can't solve it. Being in a state like that is so awesome, because it's like a vicious feedback loop where give us a hard problem, we'll figure out a way to crush it, and we want to keep doing interesting, challenging work. So I don't think it's impossible, but I think one of the main ingredients is, like, I've said it like a million times in this video. I'm very good at repeating myself if somehow you've made it this far in this video and haven't noticed, but people first. You stop telling people what to do. You stop telling people how to go do it. exceptions apply for very junior people that need a little bit more structure. Because, by the way, this has bit me before, where I've had very junior people and they get kind of stuck because they're like, I actually just really needed some more structure. And then you micromanage a little bit for them so they get some momentum and they're actually like happy for it. So situational leadership, people. But anyway, I think that's all I got. Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's more, probably statistically more like dysfunctional teams and like highly functioning ones. But put good leaders in place that care about people. I think you'll see some differences. But that's it. See you next time.